Yes, I'm Valerie Milano with the Hollywood Time. Hello, Crystal.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, wonderful. Thank you for sharing your talents and your visions with us that manifest so beautifully through your lenses. Um, Fear obviously does very little to limit the variety of ways in which you capture amazing things, amazing images. Can you speak to this? And is this something that was built up over time and experience versus your natural personality?
The interesting thing about fear is that I actually find it a very healthy, I guess you could almost call it an asset. The great thing about fear is that I know it's going to keep me alive because, I mean, fear can act in so many different ways. But for example, if I'm working around rock climbing and here I am, I'm on a rope, I'm walking to that edge and I'm about to abseil or rappel over the edge. And I can guarantee it to this day, every single time, my heart will always be like, whoa, like this is scary. And I know that's a good thing because the day that I am in that situation and I'm about to go over the edge and I'm not scared, that to me is like, okay, something's wrong. I'm being complacent. And I believe, like in the adventure industry in particular, or I think it applies to a lot of things in life. I think when we become complacent, is that's when accidents happen. So fear is probably one of my greatest assets when working, I guess, what would many could consider a dangerous field. But it's, yeah, the path I've taken, it's definitely a unique one. And I'm a very stubborn person. Once I put my mind to something, it's like, all right, we're going to do this. Like, I'm going to make this happen. It might take me a while, but I will figure out a way. And that's probably been the biggest driver of my career is my stubbornness because starting out in newspapers, at some point I realized, okay, this isn't for me. This isn't delivering what I thought it would. And it's like, right, well, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to take that leap of faith and just try because I think what holds a lot of us back is probably that fear of rejection, the fear of failure. But my thought process was that when I first started taking off and I'd do these big trips overseas and I would go and chase the adventure and just see what happened. I thought, you know what? What's the worst thing that happens? I run out of money, I fly back home and I find a job and, well, I pay off the debt, I save up and I try again. It's like, it's not the worst thing to run out of money. Look, it's stressful, it's not fun, but it's like, you know what? I just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other or, earn dollar by dollar. And at some point, I'll reset and I'll try again. And I can assure you, like, even when I approach people, I approach many magazine editors in my time, and many a times they said no. And you go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to shoot again. I'm going to email you again and prove to you that I can get your attention. So, fear, whilst it can be an incredible asset, it can also be a detriment. And I really hope others don't let it become that detriment. It's, yeah.
Good, thank you. The ability to trust others and yourself plays a huge role in your ability to be in amazing spaces, to take the photos that you do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel incredibly thankful that I have athletes who place a lot of trust, particularly when I come up with visions and a specific project that I want to create. Like, I love to document and turn up and not have any control over the situation. But sometimes I will come up with these visions and, yeah, I'm going to exert some control on the situation and try to create a very specific image. And sometimes these projects can be quite an epic. It involves, gosh, a lot of effort, a lot of time. And I'm so thankful that I have a few athlete friends that can put that trust in this vision and go, right, I'm there with you. I'm going to give you my time and skill that we will find a way to create this vision. And I can assure you, sometimes it doesn't work out. I have definitely had quite a few failures along the way, but unless I'm out there trying and going through those failures, otherwise I'll never find that success.
In physical and mental strength and fitness seems so very important to be on top of your game. Can you share some of the things that support your photography endeavors and have these things changed for you over the years?
Well, for a lot of my 20s, I definitely had just relied on always having a bit of like a ground fit, like a base fitness. But I hit my 30s and that doesn't work anymore. I was just traveling too much. I was always jet lagged. I was always tired, and I always thought that's all right. I can rock up and I can always just, keep up. But at some point I did this one shoot in Jackson Hole and it's like, oh, I can't keep up today. Like I'm really struggling. In fact, I'm struggling so much that we need to change the plan today to accommodate my lack of fitness. And that was a really, really hard, not lesson, but a rude awakening to go, oh, I'm unfit. And if I don't do something about this, well, not many athletes are going to want to work with me if I can't keep up. And so the last few years, the fact that I now travel less and I can actually have a bit more of a routine back home is that I got myself back into climbing because it was always one of my first loves. And with that consistency, I find honestly climbing is one of the best ways to stay fit. It's like I get to be outdoors, I get to be social with friends, but I find that sport, it just uses every muscle in your body that I don't need to worry about going to a gym or things like that. But yeah.
What is probably the biggest challenge that you faced in your risque practice of photography?
I would say one of the biggest challenges, certainly, like I was involved in this paragliding accident in Pakistan. And this was a very, very important lesson for me because I'll admit, I think when I was younger, I definitely had that sense of invincibility. Have done enough things and yeah, I had a few accidents along the way, but knocked out my teeth or, I ripped the skin off my knees and elbows. Nothing ever too serious. But that accident in Pakistan really woke me up to the realities. It's like, oh wow, like the repercussions can be, I mean, they could be fatal if I make that wrong choice. But luckily, I was able to walk away from that accident. I mean, on crutches and a moon boot. But it took me many months to heal up from that. And that really taught me that in those situations, I need to listen to my gut instinct that if certain days don't feel right, I need to know when to walk away. And I think that's probably one of the greatest challenges of my career because I mean, anyone could imagine that, you spent all this money and you've traveled half the world and you're only going to be here for a couple of weeks. So it sort of puts this bit of a, well, it's a bit of a pressure cooker situation because you think, well, I've got this slim opportunity, it's not like I can just come back tomorrow. I've got to make the most of this. But sometimes that will mask what's actually going on. And I have now been on expeditions where I've communicated to a team. We're in the Wrangell St. Elias, and it was the worst possible ski conditions. It just felt like we were just trying to force things to happen. And so at some point, it's like, no, guys, like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, this isn't fun. Like, no one's skiing anything fun. It's icy. It's just an extra level of danger that we don't need to be putting ourselves in. And it felt really good that we could actually walk away from that. And thankfully, no one got hurt.
Agree with that. Is it true that we get to live different lives in photography?
We definitely, I'm so thankful for photography because the camera for me became that tool that I could actually engage with the world. Like I've met so many people from different walks of life. I mean, the camera really forced me to come out of my shell because when I was younger, I was really, really shy. Like I did not know how to approach strangers and to strike up conversations. But I think as a photographer, we get to live many, many different lives. Like to be invited into someone else's life to document. It's a bit like this show. Like, I mean, I guess I was on the receiving end. Like I let a crew come into my life and I had to be completely transparent and vulnerable for the story to work. And as a photographer, I'm doing that to quite a few people, like, or to athletes. It's like, I want to document your life. I want to tell people your story. And oof, yeah, it's interesting to be on the receiving end.
Give us an example of what kind of preparation goes into shooting the elements.
Well, sorry. Gosh, preparation. It's funny. Sometimes I'll be honest, I just wing it. I should probably do some more planning sometimes, but I don't know. Sometimes I just like I grab my cameras, I have my two camera bodies and I chuck them in the bag and try to remember to have like a raincoat and a few essential items. like my little block of chocolate because I can't help it. I've got a sweet tooth. But other times, for that rock climbing shoot during the episode, I definitely needed some proper preparation. And we perhaps don't reveal all of my shit show in this episode, but when I was storm chasing, I was talking to the filmmaker and I said to him, I'm just going to go, like I was telling him about the rock climbing idea, and I said, I'll just go to Home Depot or something. I'll just grab some Christmas lights. And he's like, Krystle, no, like you're going to do this properly. You're going to reach out to this Canadian company, Moss LED, and you are going to get the proper gear. And I'm so, so thankful that he got into my ear, because it truly, like, I would have failed miserably had I gone with the cheap Christmas lights. And I ordered this gear, but we're in Moab and I was waiting because I had to come across customs, and the gear literally arrives like hours before we were going to head out and shoot. And I just think, damn it, Krystle, could you not have done some planning and actually figured this stuff out? But I don't know, at the end of the day, it tends to work out. It might just cause a few extra stress, little like speed bumps along the way, but it's all good.
Would you say that we touch immortality through the art of photography?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, like gosh, the capture a moment, it's just such a quintessential moment that it only exists for a second. And here we are with a medium that can capture it. And yeah, I think that photographs can really take a life of their own. They can also take a so like the one thing I love about it is like it's just so interpretive and subjective that people more often than not will engage with an image with no background story or no personal experience. And depending on their personal background, they'll form a completely different reason on how to engage with this photograph. But yeah, photographs on one hand, it celebrates a moment forever, really.
And for my final question, as they say, again, I'm Valerie Milano from the Hollywood Times. But for my final question, what advice would you give to up and coming photographers to really get their names and work out there?
Oh, yeah, it's for younger photographers, what I would encourage, a couple of things. One, this career, it will definitely challenge you so, so much. I mean, so many creative careers, when you see the top 1%, you think that's what I aspire to. But of course, there's so many of us who are all trying to get there. And so for me, as I said, like stubbornness was probably one of my best assets. It's like, I will not let anyone else tell me that I can't do this. I will find my way. And so that perseverance and determination. But the two things I would also say is that along the way is that don't let your earnings define your success. So in other words, look, if you can't find a full-time job in photography, that doesn't mean you're not a photographer. I've heard speeches like at the World Press Photo where one of the winners one year said, I still work a full-time job in Starbucks because that's not what's going to pay my bills, but I will save enough money to go out and pursue stories that really inspire me. So it goes to show like there are so many different pathways to become a creative. But as long as whatever it is that you're doing, always have a passion project on the side. Always shoot something for yourself, because I would say from my experience in my career is that my passion projects is what has helped me set apart from the rest. Uh, I think, yeah, your voice, like you'd be surprised on how many others will resonate with it.
Wonderful, Krystle. Thank you ever so much and keep up the great work. We enjoy it so much.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you.